Here's another project where we'll try to improve a photograph. This one's coming from Pexels, and you see the address there. We can get it online. It's by Anna Shevchuk, and we're going to use the medium size 1280 by 1920. In this project, we're going to use content aware to get rid of this artifact down here in the lower right hand corner. We're going to modify the midtones exposure. The midtones are not the shadows and not the highlights, but what's in between. We'll adjust the vividness by using the Vibrance adjustment. We'll resize the image and we'll crop the image and we'll save it as a Photoshop document as well as a PNG. The end result will be this image where it's cropped and just looks a little brighter and a little bit greater contrast between everything. Let's go over to Photoshop. As is a common practice for me, I'm going to take my background layer, I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to choose to duplicate that layer. You can control click on it on the Mac. I'm going to leave it named background copy. Just say OK. I want to get rid of this gear that's down here in the bottom right hand corner, but I don't want to crop it because I want more of this foreground area for our composition. So in Unit 3, we're going to look a lot more at making selections. I'm going to take the lasso tool in the toolbox, and with a steady hand, I'm just going to come in and draw around this area that I want to get rid of. I'm going to make sure I get the right hand side and the bottom, so I'm completing a selection in a circular fashion. And you see the marching ants. That's our selection. We're going to go to the Edit menu and choose Content Aware Fill. This is sort of the magic of Photoshop. It's going to look at our area in this green tinted portion and use that information to fill in this area that we have selected. And over here you can see the result. And that looks pretty good. You can use the brush to change the tinted area that you want to draw from for the fill. But in most cases, this is a good place to start. And I think this is exactly what we want. We'll talk more about content aware fill in Unit 3. I'm just going to click OK. And it creates a new layer with that content aware fill. Notice I can turn that layer off and I get the old stuff back. So we're just hiding it. We basically have pasted over it. What we want to do is combine these two layers. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select the background copy layer with the background copy 2. Go to the little hamburger menu at the top of the layers. It's going to be off screen here, but there's an option to merge layers. You can also do a Control E. That merges those layers into one. Now I have a background copy 2. I'm going to deselect by doing a Control D. Next I go to the Image menu and choose Adjustments, and then choose Exposure. Now the exposure, we can move these sliders, so the exposure here is we can make something more underexposed or overexposed. Pick this back down to 0. You can always type in the box. But the gamma correction changes our midtones. That's the stuff between the shadows, which would be down here in the foreground, and the highlights, which would be up here in the sky. So I'm going to bring the gamma correction down a little bit to like probably 1.3 looks pretty good. Let's bring those midtones out a little bit more. I'm going to say OK. By the way, the offset slider mostly affects the darker areas. The sky's a little washed out. I'm going to go to the Image menu, Adjustments. This time we'll choose Vibrance. So I have two sliders here, Vibrance and Saturation. Now this will bring this will desaturate that color so it's much more vivid. I don't want to go too much, so I'm going to bring it down to about maybe 45. I'm going to bring the Vibrance up a little bit. I'm going to say between 5 and 10 probably. In fact, I might even bring the saturation up a little bit more. Let's go about 60. So I've got 10 and 60. That to me looks much better. More vibrant photo. I'm going to click OK. And remember, our image was 1920 by 1280, so 1280 width. We're going to change that. I'm going to go to the image menu, image size, and we're going to adjust this down to a width of 800. We're doing it proportionally, so I've got this little link set up between width and height. If you do want to do proportional, you can turn that off, but we want it proportional, so when I change the width to 800, it will also change the height accordingly. We'll get 1200. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to zoom in a little bit with the magnifier. Then we want a square image here that's 800 by 800, but I want to take a little bit more off the top than I do off the bottom. I'm going to crop this using the canvas size, but I'm going to do it in 2 stages. So I'm going to go Image, Canvas Size. We're going to anchor the top, and we're going to reduce the height to 1100. So it's going to cut off 100 pixels at the bottom. I'm going to say OK and proceed. And then I'm going to do it again. So Image, Canvas Size. This time I'm going to anchor at the bottom and reduce the height to 800 pixels. And I'll say proceed. And there is our square image, 800 by 800. But we still have a good amount of the foreground and the background. Whereas if we'd cropped it from either all from the top or all from the bottom, the composition would have looked off. Now my image is just a little bit too vivid for me. I'm going to go back to the image menu and do adjustments. This time we'll use hue and saturation. I'm going to bring that lightness slider up just a little bit. Oh, probably just 6 would be good. I'm going to say OK. Now we made a lot of adjustments here, and the adjustments you make are really kind of your personal preference as the designer or as the photographer. What I really want to show you in this lesson, there's lots of ways to adjust an image as far as the tonal qualities, and different methods work better for different images. We'll explore these adjustments more as we go through the course, and you'll often want to work with, if you have a client, as to what their wishes are in terms of the final product for this image. We're ready to save our image. I'm going to go to the File menu and choose Save As. This one I'm going to save as BO2, Beachside, Photo Shoot, and then your last name. We're going to save it as a PSD file. Decide where it should go. Click Save. And then we also want to save this as a PNG file. So I'm going to go to the File menu, choose Save As, or Save As Copy. We're going to select this as a PNG or a PNG file, and I'll click Save. It's going to save it to the exact same folder, and I'll choose medium file size. And that concludes our beachside photo shoot. If you'd like to see more videos in the Photoshop Practicum playlist, click the title at the bottom. If you'd like to be alerted to new videos, please click my photo in the top right to subscribe to the channel.